Hello and welcome to Douglas Week, everyone. We're delighted to be here with three mayors joining us from three different important cities, important to the life and story of Frederick Douglass. The Lord Mayor of Cork, Ireland, Councillor Kelleher, Mayor Malik Evans of Rochester, New York, and Mayor of Waterford, Ireland, Councillor Joe Kelly.
And thanks everyone for being here. We're very glad at Douglas Week to be able to facilitate this conversation during our week of programming, and we hope to be able to do much more of it in the future. And we're absolutely thrilled to also be joined by our friend and colleague, Erick, who is the Executive Director of Frederick Douglass Family Initiatives, which is based in Rochester, New York. Thanks, Erica, for being here.
Thank you, Kristin. FGFI is very excited to once again be a part of Douglas Week, as you know, and we are so energized every day here in Rochester, working side by side with Mayor Evans and others. Thank you especially to you, Mayor, for making this time to be here last minute. I know, but today we really appreciate you, and but to just take advantage of the brief time, that we all have here together today, we wanted to start with a quick question for all of you. The question that we have initially is, we're meeting here today in the context of this great change maker, Frederick Douglass, who has visited or lived in all three cities that you all are here representing today with Waterford, Cork, and Rochester. So we know that there's a great variety of projects to commemorate Douglass in each city that's represented here. But could you guys talk a little bit about what visitors can see and learn about Douglass in your city? And maybe I'll throw it first to you, Lord Mayor Kelleher, then to Mayor Evans, and then to Mayor Kelly, if you would, please.
Thank you. And it's an absolute honor and privilege for me to be here to have this discussion with you all today. As Lord Mayor of Cork, it's very endearing to be involved in what is our second, I suppose, hashtag Douglas Week, and interacting with yourselves on it. Obviously, we have a deep connection with Frederick Douglass. He visited Cork when he travelled to Ireland, when his travels between 1845 and 1846. I suppose to answer your questions, what do we have on offer in relation to, I suppose, a tourism or a kind of a focal point honing in on Frederick Douglass's time here in Ireland, and particularly in Cork City. We last year in July of 2021, I had the privilege of launching with the Douglas Week team here in Nanonagel Place and the Cork Migrant Centre. We planted a tree in which a direct descendant of Frederick Douglass, Mr. Kenneth Morris. And we also launched the Cork Abolitionist Trail that week also. And it's a trail around the city where Frederick Douglass spoke. He spoke in the Imperial Hotel here in the city. We've unveiled a plaque recently to him in his honour outside that hotel. He spoke at the courthouse on Washington Street here. And we as I said, we've maps pinpointed around the city, and we call it the Douglas Trail or the Cork Abolitionist Trail. I mentioned that we planted the tree in Nanonagel Place, but also on our Grand Parade, or in Irish and Shráid Capel Bui, there was a mural done by Kevin O'Brien, a local artist, and it has really become a focal point within the city. And that's also on the Cork Abolitionist Trail. Today, this morning, I officially launched, as part of this Douglas Week celebrations, an exhibition in our city's library about his time here in Cork and where he spoke and who he interacted with. And we actually have newspapers from the week and the 3 or 4 weeks that he was here on display as well, and it's very unique because albeit his interaction with O'Connell and Father Matthew here in the city during the I suppose the temperance time that we had in the city here in the 1840s, he also came at a time that's something that jumped out at me today when I launched the exhibition, because it was right next to the article about Frederick Douglass and his speaking within the city. Was around the time there was reports of the Potato Blight, and it was just trickling through, because so he actually landed at the first year of the famine. And God knows by the time he returned to the States, or the time he left Ireland, things deteriorated fairly quickly after that. But I had the privilege of launching that today in the city. And also we, outside our People's Park, as we call it, in the city, there was a disused coffee kiosk. And it had been disused. It's actually due for demolition next year when we're revamping that part of the city under a scheme of public works. But we wrapped it completely in the same exhibition that's on display in our city library. So it's actually right outside the entrance to our People's Park as well, and will be on display for the next 2 or 3 weeks. And that's a real focal point in the city as well. So we're very proud of our connection with Frederick Douglass. As I said, absolutely delighted to be on the call today with you.
Thank you so much. So I'll turn it now to you, Mayor Evans.
Thank you. Good to be here with everyone and my fellow mayors. Great to see you. And Waterford, which is a long-standing sister city of Rochester. Frederick Douglass lived in Rochester for 25 years, from 1847 to 1872. He lived in our city longer than anywhere else he lived in his life. The North Star was started here in Rochester. The family ran a stop on the Underground Railroad, and he raised his 5 children here. One of the things that I always point people to go see when they come to Rochester is the Douglass statue, which here in Rochester, which is the first statue of any African American in the United States. So that's another place to see in Rochester. It's a highlight. And his final resting place is here in Rochester. It's the resting place of not only Frederick Douglass, but also Anna and Annie Douglass. And they're right in Mount Hope Cemetery. So that's a historic cemetery where many famous Rochesterians are buried. And Frederick Douglass, we have the honor of having that cemetery be his final resting place. Frederick Douglass Initiatives is located in the city. They moved their headquarters there because of the significance of the Douglass family, and they're working on many initiatives to continue to highlight and have Frederick Douglass remembered in a way that we all can be proud of. I'm lucky in that I grew up down the street on the corner of Hamilton and Bond Street is a house that Frederick Douglass lived in. So the house that I grew up in as a child, probably about 10 houses down, there's a marker of one of the many houses that Frederick Douglass occupied in the city. So he occupied a lot of houses in the city, and also an elementary school is named after Anna Murray Douglass. That was also in space that Frederick Douglass occupied. So there are a lot of different places where Frederick Douglass walked throughout the city, and we are so happy to be able to commemorate that. We're also happy that Rochester's Anna Murray Douglass Academy, which is a school that I attended as a child, it had a different name then, but we since have changed it to Anna Murray Douglass Academy. The students are involved in Douglass Week this year, and we're starting a pen pal program between the students in the school there, and then we're hoping to do that with students in Ireland this year as well. So we are very happy that we have Frederick Douglass as a part of our history, but even more and equally as happy that our friends in Ireland are also honoring Douglass in the same way that we are doing here in the States. And I'm so happy to have this connection with our friends in Ireland.
Thank you so much. And I'm sorry, I'm a little biased. You know, I have the city logo.
Oh, nice, nice.
So nice. I'm sorry. And I actually live very close walking distance to the cemetery too. So I have to admit that I'm a little partial. They kind of watch over me a little. So now I'm going to go ahead and throw it to you, Mayor Kelly.
Thank you, Eric, and both Mayor Colin Kelleher and Mayor Evans. It's great to hear you guys talk about Frederick Douglass the way you have done, and likewise here in Waterford, we have a connection with Douglass that we're very proud of, and we have a plaque to Frederick Douglass unveiled in 2013, here right at the door really of our City Hall. That was, that sort of marks his very well attended speech, I have to say, for the time that was in it on the 9th of October 1845 in what we call our large room. So it was the biggest room effectively available in the city at the time. And so that was packed to the so that went down terribly well. We were, of course, very happy to welcome Douglas's descendant, Kenneth Morris, to Waterford this past July 2021. And he visited that plaque, and indeed, he put a wreath on the plaque in memory of Douglas. And of course, then Mayor Evans, in front of the plaque, we also were pleased to accept a citation from Rochester City Council, which Kenneth read, of course, on behalf of your City Council. So that was really important to us. And I have that currently in my office, framed. So that's very nice. And people often comment when they visit. And with Ken, we also planted a tree here in Waterford, not far actually from the permanent 9/11 monument that we have. And your colleagues there visited that when we were here in Waterford. I showed that monument up as well. So the tree is very closely adjacent to that. And finally, of course, our ambassador of Ireland to the USA, Dan Mulhall, which I'm sure you guys have come across, he's from Waterford. He's a proud son of this city, and I understand he's also part of the Douglas Week activities. He's a really good man. I've met him several times, and he represents very well both Ireland and indeed his native city of Waterford. So it's an interesting connection. And I was just saying before we started recording that I still use the visit of Frederick Douglass and his speech about his conditions at the time in debates that we're currently having in equality-based issues, and how Douglas of the period inspires us in the Waterford of today. And I think that's a really important and long-lasting link. And please God, that link will be developed in future years with the group and with Erick and her team. And we really look forward to that, and in the of Rochester, where we all can move forward together on this issue. So that's my views on it at this very point, and this conference.
Thank you very much, Mayors, for your insights and for sharing your thoughts and giving us all some insights into your beautiful cities. And as we developed the Douglas Week programming over the last few years, we have really been encouraged by the broad spectrum of contributors who find inspiration in, for their work in the story of Frederick Douglass. There's historians and writers and academics, but also singers and artists, students, musicians, and so many more. And maybe very briefly, you can talk about the importance of Douglas's life and work to your city and why you think his story still resonates with so many people in your cities. And perhaps each of you could talk a little about the relevance of Douglas to your city today. I'd say we go to Rochester first, then Cork, and then Waterford, if that is okay.
Yeah, I think, the relevance in our city today is that it gives our young people hope to know that back at a time when Douglas was treated at less than a man, he still persevered. One of my favorite Douglas quotes is, "Without struggle, there is no progress." So there are many struggles that we have now in the 21st century. And Douglas obviously had those struggles in the 19th century. And although those struggles still live on in the 21st century, we've come a long way. So Douglas offers an inspiration to show what can happen when you work with that struggle. So that work and struggle kind of went together. And with that, we saw progress. So Douglas really offers hope to so many of us when we're dealing with so many challenging times right now, be it COVID or violence or homelessness or poverty. These are all things that we are dealing with. But Douglas shows us that we should never stop moving and that we can persevere. And then the last thing I'll say is that Douglas is a reminder that he paved the way for so many of us. He paved the way for me to be able to be the mayor of the city of Rochester. So because he's done that, I now have an obligation to pave the way for those that will come after me. So Douglas serves as a beacon of light to so many of us in Rochester. And we're proud to claim him because he spent the most time in Rochester, 25 years. So we see him as one of our favorite sons, but more importantly, as an inspiration to future generations.
Thank you, Mayor Evans. Very inspiring. Thank you so much. And over to the Lord Mayor of Cork. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's very inspiring, excuse me, to listen to Mayor Evans there. And obviously, you're very proud of Frederick Douglass, and rightly so. I suppose the resonance that Frederick Douglass has left upon my city, and I suppose Cork and the surrounding area. And I suppose Cork and the surrounding areas played an important role during Frederick Douglass's visit to Ireland between 1845 and 46. And we here in Cork, we're very proud to know that Douglass very much enjoyed his stay in Cork and formed friendships that would last for the rest of his life and his long and illustrious career as well. I suppose Cork and Ireland and Waterford and America were closely connected in the 19th century, and of course are interconnected today in many different ways. But and indeed we share, the same challenges and opportunities around issues like inclusion, race, acceptance. They have been so much part of the dialogue in Cork and all of Ireland today, and also in the States. But we have to realize something here. Frederick Douglass was a man ahead of his time, persevered through escape from slavery at the age of 20. And I know Mayor Douglas referenced the Underground Railroad there and stuff like that, and I would be an avid reader of history myself. And when I took office as Lord Mayor, to be quite honest with you, I knew of Frederick Douglass, but I didn't know of the intricate interaction he had in my city. And when I launched Frederick Douglass last year, Frederick Douglass Week last year in Cork, I started reading up about him, and he really had a fascinating and long and illustrious life, and he was a man ahead of his times, and it resonates what Mayor Evans said there. He paved the way for you to become mayor of Rochester. He paved the way for so many things. And, at a time when in Ireland, when, people of a religious faith, and I know he met with O'Connell, the time of the Catholic emancipation, and we were fighting for our rights. It's kind of an issue that has transgressed time and followed right up until today, 2022. You fast forward to the mid 50s in the UK, when Irish immigrants went over there, and there were signs on doors, no blacks, no dogs, no Irish. It's we as society have faced issues like that or almost our entire existence. And it's very endearing to know that, he was welcomed in Cork, and he was actually gifted a signet ring when he left by the mayor of Cork, who actually wore this very chain. The chain I wear is 237 years old. So Frederick Douglass was actually right next to this very chain I wear today. So it's really history reaching out. And I suppose the key issues in Cork that we are delighted to be associated with Douglass Week and to keep spotlights on these key issues is to continue the connection between our two countries and our two vibrant cities and our neighbours in Waterford, and I'm equally delighted to say that I, along with some of my Cork City Council colleagues, will participate in the Frederick Douglass walk in Washington, DC, and a Capitol Hill walking tour with local historian John Muller next month when I visit the United States. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
Thank you so much, Lord Mayor Kelleher. And I'd say over to Mayor Kelly in Waterford. Thank you.
Yeah, when we talk about what I suppose relevance or what influence Frederick Douglass might have today in Ireland or indeed Waterford, it's fundamental really to what we're about here in this city and a program that I'm trying to lead. Mayor Kelleher kind of referenced it around there's the population and the structure of the population in Ireland is changing, and certainly Waterford, racially diverse city now, people of many faiths, backgrounds, countries, colours, and so on. And we feel we're very inclusive, but we can always go further with that. And that's really important. We have a really integrated city, but more can always be done and more needs to be done to promote harmonious relationships between different people of different colours, faiths, and so on. And when you think about it, when Frederick Douglass visited Ireland and Waterford and Cork in particular, he was in Dublin as well. So he was very much in the minority people of color, Black people in particular, would have been a rare sight, let's put it that way. But yet he was warmly accepted by the people of our city, and indeed the people of Cork, warmly accepted. And his messages, you know, the message he was given hit home to a very willing audience, which I think surprised Frederick. I think it surprised him that he got that kind of a welcome. And I think he said, and I'm probably paraphrasing or maybe getting it slightly wrong, but I think he said, you know, that he was impressed that people should be judged by what's in their heart rather than by the color of their skin. So when somebody is being measured, if measured is the right word, then we should not measure them because they have a certain color or a certain come from a certain area or they're wealthy or poor. That of itself should have nothing to do with it. It's what's in the heart of a person, what makes that person, and how they treat other people with respect and dignity. These are the messages of Douglas. These are the messages that we're trying to instill now in our young people as we go. It develops and is developing and expanding rapidly with people from many nationalities. This is that everybody has a place in this society. Everyone is welcome. Everybody has something to contribute, irrespective. People from every kind of background, creed and colour are welcome here in Waterford. And I would say, indeed, welcome in Ireland. Ireland is a very welcoming place. It's just the way we are. We're nothing special, but it's just the way we are. That's how I put it. So to be able to engage in, you know, the Frederick Douglass Week and these activities with yourselves, and indeed participate in this call today, you know, I'm really, really proud to be representing the people of Waterford City and County on this call. And I look forward to future times when we link up again and you know, we collaborate on other projects and further projects and really add to the integration and the inclusion of everybody for who they are, not for what they have, but for who they are. I think that's the critical. That's what's always come across for me. Certainly when I read the book on Douglas, that was a key theme, and we're trying to pursue that here. So that's my, I suppose, concluding remarks on this session. I'm inspired by the man, inspired.
Well, thank you, Mayor Kelly, thank you, Mayor Evans, and thank you, Lord Mayor Kelleher. I think it's fair to say this conversation could go on for some time, and we look forward to that happening in the future. But we are conscious of time now. So with that, we'll say thank you so much to all of you for making the time to join us for Douglass Week, to be connected this way. And we really look forward to talking again and also visiting all three of these great cities in the very near future, we hope. Thanks very much, everybody, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank
Douglas
you.